Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got bombshell news to share with you, and some in which I believe can prove there is a planned coup against the United States president, against our president, Donald Trump. Now you're going to want to hang with me on this because there's a lot to go through, but it's very, very important that you follow it with me. Now, for starters, many of you are probably aware of the dark web, which is a place, it's where a lot of illegal action happens, but you can go on there and you need special encrypted software in order to get on there. But it's a way of working from behind the scenes or working around things on the dark web. Well, there is a young man or woman, I'm not sure, but they go by the name Fresh Camel, and they leaked screenshots of a purported conversation between 5 people, 13 people total were listening in, but it was a conversation with 5 people with bogus names. And he released this, it was to Third Estate News Group. Now, I'm gonna leave a link for all of this below, including Third Estate News Group. But this Fresh Camel guy leaked it to one of the reporters there, Micah Bull, and was kind of asking other people, and he'd put it on a message board and said, okay, I need help interpreting this. Now, the reason that Fresh Camel had done this is because what was inside this conversation, this short conversation, if you will, was bombshell, because some of the events that they were talking about happened, politically speaking, hours later. So this is very huge. Now, let me preface this by saying, I cannot verify or deny or 100% prove that the screenshots you're about to see are, 100% fact, if you will. They have not been proven as fakes. Could they be proven as fakes in the future? Sure. But here's what I want to also preface this with. I honestly believe that they're legit. That's what I believe. They have the timestamps and all the information. And keep in mind, the deep state, I think there's a 70% chance that the deep state will come out and say, that's completely fake, and pay someone off to take the blunt, if you will. So they could pay off someone and say this is completely bogus, or who knows, there's a lot of ways. So please keep that in mind if something surfaces in the future about this and they say, oh, it's fake. And obviously, don't listen to Snopes because they'll claim it's fake from the get-go, because they're idiots and it's run by a crazy, crazy cat woman. Now again, it's a dialogue between 5 people and 13 people were reported as listening in. All right, so I'm gonna throw it up on the screen here, and what you see from the very, very beginning are the people, and it's titled, the entire chat room dialogue is titled Palpatine's Revenge. Now, if you know anything about Star Wars, then you know Palpatine's Revenge is the Chancellor who represents the deep state, if you will, who represents the Illuminati, the New World Order, the tyrant, evil dictator leader. So from the get-go, you have reference to a deep state and an evil that is rising from the ashes, if you will. So there they have Palpatine's Revenge as the title. Then it goes into Dooku, who's one of the people in the group, and he says, RR isn't taking any, and excuse the French, but shit. And he knows our friends have stuff on him. Now, when he references R and R, I honestly believe, and so does Third Estate News, and InfoWars also put it out, that represents Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who is the person who appointed Robert Mueller, okay? So, also, again, let's pay attention to the timestamp on this. This, as you can see, is timestamp 2:31. That was the beginning of the dialogue. Now, Robert Mueller was not appointed until around 6 o'clock that day, or at least it hit the news around 6 o'clock that day. So a good 3.5 some odd hours later. All right, so moving on, Dooku responds again. He goes, I'm hearing Mueller, maybe by the end of the week. Okay, so first they say Robert Mueller, and that's who's gonna be up, that's who's gonna be appointed. And then Severus, another person, comes in and says, I'm hearing it's Robert Mueller as well. The White House, WH, will be blindsided. Let's put Michael Flynn, MF, I agree with all those statements that Third Estate and InfoWars and multiple others are stating, but Michael Flynn back in the news. Why Michael Flynn? You know, because mysteriously, the very next day, Michael Flynn just so happens to come back in the news. But let me finish that statement. He says, can have S, and I'm not sure who S is, draw up a memo on Turkey. S would be some kind of media organization. But if they could drop a memo on Mike Flynn and Turkey, with Erdogan thugs beating protesters in the street, it fits news cycle. And I'm sure we'll need a few more memos. There is a leaked memo by James Comey reportedly about Donald Trump saying, hey, take it easy on Mike Flynn, or end the investigation on Mike Flynn, or whatever, this falsified memo, I believe, down the road. And he says, good practice, and he winks. The wink, obviously, I believe, references the memo from James Comey, the forged memo, if you will, because he committed perjury, right? Because earlier he stated that Donald Trump and nobody impeded in the investigation with Mike Flynn. He said nobody influenced him at all. And now all of a sudden he's claiming to be influenced. What is it, James Comey? Did you commit perjury in front of Congress when you said those words, or are you lying about the memo? Which is it? Either one, I believe James Comey is screwed. But either way, here's a reference to the deep state talking about the memo, which I believe specifically references the Comey memo, all of a sudden leaked about Mike Flynn. Now, a little bit earlier there, it also says about putting Mike Flynn in the news about Turkey. Now, I believe that also references Mike Flynn and Turkey, because the very next day, who did we find in the news? Mike Flynn and Turkey. Mike Flynn allegedly accepted money from Turkish government, and that was leaked the very next day. Is that a coincidence? Well, I guess ultimately I'll leave that for you to decide, but I think I know where I stand on this one. Then Hucker chimes in, a new person. Now we've got 3, and he says, I'm in S. You in here? I'm in, I'm good for this. S, are you in here? Our friends in New York still have some connections, setups waiting. And then Roger, okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4th person. Michael Flynn was mentioned in company group 2. Evidently, their work on Lemony is paying off. Now, who is Lemony? So if we're talking about Mike Flynn here, all of a sudden Lemony is brought up. Now, Lemony could be a reference to British, like that's what kind of Lemony deals with, the British. And so Third Estate News Group believes that this could be a reference to Louise Mensch, excuse me. A never-Trumper who leaks bogus stories and information about Donald Trump all the time, but obviously making up bogus information there. Then we have, moving on a little bit, and Doku says, paying off how? Getting to him, question mark. Are we getting to Michael Flynn, question mark. And then Roger chimes in and says, yeah, he mentioned Lemony, or again, Louise Mensch, okay, he mentioned Louise Mensch in a call earlier this week, and he is scared out of his mind. There's another term used there, but he's scared, talking about Michael Flynn being afraid. Severus chimes in again, and he says, he isn't the brightest bulb, but that project has worked perfectly. And then Roger, it really has. Huck, don't AEWP mention it when we gave him that tape. Now you have reference to a tape. This is illegal activity between politicians and a media group. I believe in this case, AE stands for someone at the Washington Post. One person that follows that AE is Adam Ontaras, ENTOUS, Antaz, and I might be butchering his name, but he is a reporter there at the Washington Post, and you have AEWP, right? But they say, no, not AE, somebody else, which it was someone else who actually ended up with the story, but not sure who. I wasn't listening in, and this is by Huck, and he says, but our carrier pigeon, somebody who transfers information for them illegally, if you will, in debrief, or, transferring information that they want to frame someone or whatever, in debrief, that they said something along the lines of, quote, no wonder no one in our business has called Lemony Louise Mensch out. What's the point when you all keep bringing us great stuff, which means the reporters bringing them good information. We don't even need her fake stuff, if you will, right? Okay, it actually helps our pay-per-views when she gets all of her minions fired up with the dumb crap first. And then Severus, you see what he says, that's friggin' amazing. And then we have the fifth person, Jules. Hey, I've been watching in. Here with S, which means whoever S is, he's next to that particular person, or she is, in GT post. All go from us. Huck will send memo to usual place. Do your magic. Roger, any update from Camp Eagle? Now, Camp Eagle is an asset, usually represents some sort of asset, could be the president, I'm not sure. Roger says the asset is en route. Don't expect much from him. He's been out far too long. Could be anyone. Jules figures, okay. Huck, keep that connection open and expect something to come through the pipeline a little later. Just stall them. RM Robert Mueller is happening tonight. So they'll have plenty to cover. Again, this was written around 3 o'clock. That did not come out till 6. Interesting. And then Doku says, wait, what? That's a lot faster than I thought. Huck, connections will remain open. Let me know if you want to tip on RM. Do you want to tip on what's happening with Robert Mueller? Just let it ride. Today's time is up, everyone. Everyone knows what to do. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day, so we'll let everyone know when S hears from the grapevine. So there's the entire dialogue, and I took it a little slow because I wanted to send references or show you the references to each one of those letters and read it as the picture of what they're trying to hide and get as much information as we could out of it. So there you have it. You have a report, that was on the dark web that got leaked to the public, screenshots of it, but a dialogue between 5, again, 13 listening in, and this all happened before the information came out. That's when you take something with more credence, with more validity. When hours before, they were able to predict something that actually played out in the news just hours later, exactly about 3.5 hours later, we had this playing out. That's when I call proof of a deep state, proof of a coup against the government, proof of a coup against Trump, I will say. They want his whole cabinet out. They want anyone affiliated with him out. They're going to start calling them all Russian agents. This is their move to eliminate them. And Robert, well, I'm a little skeptical about him now, knowing that Robert Mueller, well, if he really is going to blindside the White House, I have a problem with that. Anyhow, I'd love to hear your comments and concerns. And again, please keep in mind that this has got, I think, maybe even a 75% chance of being proved fake in the future. It has not at this point, but it does have that possibility. My take is, why do I say 75%? Because I believe the deep state doesn't want this information out. So they're going to pay people, they're going to blackmail people and make it look falsified, even though I believe it's 100% legit. Just my take. So I believe it will hold credence, and I believe it does hold credence, otherwise I wouldn't report on it. But I also believe that the deep state's going to do everything they can to prove it false. Once it's been proven false, people will drop it and ignore it when it really should be paid attention to, because there are such thing as blackmail, and that is not aside from them. You can see they're using the dark web to communicate. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest. If you've not checked out getthetea.com, please do so. It helps fund what I do here on my channel. And he's got the best supplements on the planet, literally organic supplements of every kind. He doesn't just have tea, but it's things that you buy all the time anyway. So make sure you go there, check out Get the Tea, everything he has, and just select my name on checkout. But that helps fund everything I do here. And at the same time, there are things you already buy, but even better, if you will. They're amazing, amazing products. I personally like the colostrum, the tea, the B vitamins, and all of that as well. So much stuff. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. If you like what you heard, subscribe, like, and share. Thanks again. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.